Hello, fellow Mafia members and E46 fanatics. So after a couple of days of research, I think I finally got a definitive answer on the problems behind the pillar issues and the solutions. And frankly, other people have discovered this, but it was hard to find like a real concise documentation of what's happening and how to fix it. People will recover failing pillars with, suede or Alcantara or other materials, stuff they find, other upholstery shops or fabric stores. But I really wanted to get a match for all the fabrics, primarily because there's some things like headline or visors, which are not covered like everything else. It's not just glued on. Like the seams on those visors, they're not, they might be glued or something, but it's not affixed like in an easy way to just recover them. So, and some things like my sunroof panel, for instance, are totally fine. So I want to kind of minimize the work that I was doing that I didn't necessarily have to do and could focus on repairing the things that needed to get done, like, my A and C pillars primarily. Of course, there's an easy fix to all of this, which BMW still makes it, and you can buy it. It's, each A pillar is something like $100, plus the trim strip is another $20 a piece. The C pillars are around $100 each. The B pillars are more expensive. They're, I think, like 180 or something each. So all in, you're looking at, I think ECS, as far as I can tell, has about the best price for everything with free shipping. It's something like $820 for all three pillars. And that's a lot of money. Although if you're not a DIYer or don't have the patience to try to do, upholstery work, which is a pain, totally get it. But I'm unemployed right now and nothing better to do. So here's kind of the first area that I was confused about. So you can see that the fabric itself is peeling away from the pillar. Now, at first I just thought, oh, it's a really thin fabric and the glue has failed over time. Fair enough. It's, this ZHP is 2004, so it's 17 years old. Reasonable for it to fail after that much time. What I realized though is that it's not, this thin section of fabric, and you can see on a bigger piece, like I already pulled this off of the C pillar, this is an entire piece that came off of the C pillar. It's not this thin piece of fabric that somehow the adhesive has failed. And if you look at the fabric on both sides, it's clean. There's no evidence of any adhesive was ever used on that. It's because there wasn't, at least not any time recently. On all of the pillars, I'm pretty sure the visors use this, probably the rear parcel shelf too. It uses a thin fabric that has this backing on it. It's almost like a felt-like material. This is fixed together, right? So this is just cut off a little sample of the fabric I ultimately bought, but it's attached to one another. The glue attaches to like this felt part that attaches to the plastic on the pillar. This separates over time, not the actual fabric separating from the pillar, but the fabric separating from itself, from like that thin or nylonish outer lining from this feltish inner lining, like the substrate material. Those pieces are separating, and that's where they're falling apart. I think one of the issues you see is that around the top of the pillar, so this is the passenger side A pillar, for example. Around the top, they did wrap it all the way around the top section and used, pretty robust glue. And this was stuck on well, no issues around the top of this peeling off. I don't think you typically would ever see the top section peeling off because of how it was wrapped. However, they did not wrap around the edge of any other piece of the pillar. It's just flush with the plastic edge. And that's really where you tend to see problems, especially around the bottom. I think is usually the first one to fail. And around the bottom too, it is not wrapped in any way. And, you know, I guess I can see, you know, maybe they're trying to ensure that the clips can fit in without too much effort. And that you know, it's fitting cleanly against, you know, this area would go against the windshield. And this is getting tucked inside like the door seal. Maybe they're just concerned about it having a tight enough fit with everything. But, you know, the reality is that, you know, 15 years later, and some obviously failed much sooner, that it just starts peeling away. And that because it's not wrapped around the edge, it's going to eventually fail. So, you can see, okay, that's why it's failing. And, you know, then the second question is, okay, so short of spending $800 on pillars, how do I fix it? And most headliner shops that I've seen, you know, several online, they all sell foam-backed headliner, which E46 uses foam-backed as most cars do. So the foam-backed headliner has basically the same outer cloth that you see, but with foam on the inside. And so this is where the glue would be applied and gets applied. You know, this material is on the headliner, the sunroof panel, and like the little sensor panel in the middle for like the alarm sensor, and then also on the little like overhead console where the sunroof switch, microphone, and HomeLink would be in there. So this material goes on everything basically but the pillars. Probably not in I think, like as I mentioned, the rear parcel shelf likely uses like the non-foam back material. And this is what most places sell. And some of them have packages, you know, they'll say, okay, I think like Headliner Express says, you know, we'll send you 4 yards of this foam back material and you can rewrap everything. Sure, you can. In my experience though, this material with a foam backing is a lot more prone to leaving marks and getting damaged and just corroding over time. You know, this foam disintegrates, and that's really what happens with headliners on all cars. The foam deteriorates over many years of heat and sun, and it just starts falling apart. And then, you know, the glue that was adhered to the plastic and foam, you know, the glue's really fine. The glue hasn't failed, but the foam has deteriorated and it just drops away because it's not glued to anything, because this fabric piece here is no longer, the foam is it's like literally disappearing underneath and it's falling down. So, you know, leveraging the E46 Fanatics forum and ZHP Mafia forums, you know, finally figured out that A, they're definitely two different materials, and B, you can buy them. So I went down to Veteran Company down in LA. It's right in Skid Row, like super sketchy area, but you know, safe enough during the day, but pretty sad little tent city. Most of LA's homeless, right around there. It's right near the Fashion District, near the Cecil Hotel, if you're a fan of murder, and which is only like half a mile away. And they carry both, and they appear to be perfect matches. I mean, I'd be surprised if this wasn't manufactured by the same company that made this for BMW in the first place, because it looks so similar to it. If it's not the original one, it's a damn like perfect recreation. The headlining material is BM134. So that's the headlining material. And if, you know, I hold up that section, it's probably a little darker just because it's not faded from sun, but the pattern and texture, you know, the grain of the texture, it is a perfect match as far as I can tell. But that's got the foam backing. So especially up in these tight areas, it's not going to work that well because it really needs to be flat on there. Especially like pieces like this little trim piece, which granted you can buy this for 20 bucks too. And you know, maybe I won't do a good job and I'll want to buy just the trim pieces, but okay, they're only 20 bucks each, not too bad. And so for those, you want to get the BM134. And again, this is a perfect match to the factory material, except it's a little bit darker, I think, right now, just because it's faded a little bit over time, but the pattern, everything else looks basically identical to it, and it's got that same backing on it. The pillar material, the BM3109, this was 35 bucks a yard, and so it's not cheap, but it's cheaper than buying new pillars. And the headline material, BM134, was $42 a yard, a little bit more expensive with the foam backed material. Now, I got 3 yards of the foam backed, so I can do the headliner as well. Still TBD if I'll do it myself, or I might just pull the headliner out and have a shop do it. We'll see how confident I am in doing it. And I got 2 yards of the 3109 for the pillars, mainly because I probably do the parcel shelf as well, and I wanted enough to make sure I had for that. I'll update the video, or at least in the description eventually, once I complete this, to figure out exactly how much you'd need. I think most people say you need about 2.5 or 3 for the headliner, so I should be right on money there. And then on the pillars, most people say 1 is enough to do the pillars. I don't know if that's enough to do the pillars and the parcel shelf, so I'll figure out. That should be enough. I'd rather have too much material and be able to redo something I screw up than be short on material and have to drive down and order more or pick up more. So, and then you'll need adhesive to do this with. But I'll put a link to Veteran company out of LA in the description. It's not a sponsored video or anything by them, but they definitely carry the fabric. I went and picked it up in person, was able to see, like, before I bought it, yeah, that's what I need. And so, 200 bucks in fabric, probably more than I'll need. And then the hard part will come. To do this properly, you could try re-gluing back onto this feltish piece, but I think it ended up a little bit too thick, and probably won't adhere as well to that material. So I am going to go through probably the most painful part of this process, which is removing this underlayment material from each of the pillars. So that'll be the next difficult step. I'll figure out if a heat gun works, does steam work, or what I know ultimately some people do is they just use like a wire wheel on a drill or a rotary tool and grind it off. So I might have to go to that step. It's probably gonna be a pain in the butt no matter what I do. I don't know if there's an easy way to do that, but I think I'll have a good solution for the pillars. And including that $200, that's with the headliner fabric and everything. If just the pillars, to do that, 1 yard's probably enough, 35 bucks versus 800 and some. Now, if your clips are broken, that's a different story. You'd have to buy new pillars possibly if your clips break. But, I think you can get crappy pillars that have, fading or faded material or delaminating fabric on it, and you can likely get that for relatively cheap without buying new. I've taken off the A and a C pillar, and the one little trim piece broke because I took off the airbag strip, like this covers up the Torx bolts on that A pillar. The C pillar, mine came off pretty easily. Nothing on the A pillar itself broke at all. So all my plastics, now I'm in Southern California, up near Santa Barbara area, and this car's been here its whole life. And so we have a pretty moderate climate. Maybe I'm just a little bit spoiled and have plastics that aren't just totally beat to hell at this point, because most of the trim on this car where I've done, with Bluetooth installation, taking off exterior trim to re-dye it, things like that, I haven't broken many clips. So it's easy for me. But if you can get the clips off, or get the pillars off without breaking clips, and 35 bucks in fabric, 10 or 20 bucks for adhesive spray, and you should have a pretty inexpensive, affordable way to fix these pillars, which I think have failed on 100% of all of the E46s at this point. So wish me luck, and I'll keep you guys posted with updates on how this project goes.